بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. First of all, Ramadan Mubarak to every single one of you who are watching this video. Before we talk about today's topic, let's talk about why Ramadan is so important to us as Muslims. The purpose of Ramadan isn't to, just starve yourself from Fajr to Maghrib or to even, munch more food than you can handle at Iftar. Instead, the purpose of Ramadan is to become closer to Allah and become a better individual overall. There's a narration of the Prophet ﷺ where he says, "Verily, fasting is not only from eating and drinking, rather fasting is from vanity and obscenity. If someone abuses you or acts foolish against you, then say, indeed I am fasting." A lot of people say, oh, it's Ramadan, I can't study. Oh, it's, Ramadan, I can't do this. It's Ramadan, I can't do this. But in reality, you can. You just don't have the right mindset. So you really need to change the way you think, and then everything is possible, even during Ramadan. One of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes is Al-Razak, the provider of sustenance. Another one is Al-Alim, the all-knowing. Would Allah really have kept Ramadan if it meant that it would hurt you? Of course not. So we first need to understand that even, if you're spending time praying, if you're making dua and all of that, if you're spending more time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it won't make other areas in your life lag behind. Instead, it will actually improve them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Here's a hadith for you to listen. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Whoever eats or drinks forgetfully while he is fasting, let him complete his fast, for Allah has fed him and given him to drink." This just shows the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. The main goal, as I mentioned, is to become mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the start of the video, I recited those verses from Surah Baqarah. They meant, indeed, become mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the purpose of Ramadan. During this holy month, we should strive to become better in every single area of our life, whether that's, productivity, studying, spirituality, your religiousness, whatever it is, Ramadan is the best time to improve it. Now that we know what the main goal of Ramadan is, let's talk about what actionable steps we can take to become more productive in Ramadan. Now, the first thing I want to bring up is, what time should you be studying? Because when it comes to Ramadan, you have stuff like suhoor, you have iftar, you have, for guys, you have tarawih, you have so much different stuff that you're going on, so it becomes kind of hard to study. So what are the ideal times to study in Ramadan? This depends on a lot of factors, so let's look at it one by one. If you're going to school in Ramadan, the best time to study is between suhoor and the time you go to school. If you eat suhoor at 5 a.m. and fajr is at 5:30 and you have to go to school at, let's say, 7 a.m., use the time after fajr to study until you have to go to school. That, in my opinion, is the most productive time you can study when you're going to school. Another thing that you can do is, if you have free lessons in school or you have break, you can study in that as well. Another time is between Asr and Iftar. When you finish Asr prayer, you have around an hour or so maybe to study, so you can study in that time as well. Now, this one is a bit of a hit or miss. It depends on the person really, because you've been fasting all day, so you might not feel like studying, an hour before you actually break your fast. So it depends on you. Personally, it works for me, so I study during this time. I also wouldn't recommend studying after Maghrib, because the time between Maghrib and Isha, you just want to relax a bit. You want to lay down after you've, eaten iftar. So we all get lazy in that time. I wouldn't recommend studying in it. Just relax, be with your family, enjoy, pray Maghrib and all of that stuff. Just don't study in that time, personally, for me. Now, if you don't have school in Ramadan and you still want to study, the best time, personally, please don't, take my advice on this, but for me, it is after Taraweeh until suhoor. Now, it may be a bit unhealthy, but it works for me, and it is the best vibe of the whole of Ramadan, because I'm staying up, I can pray tahajjud, I can also pray fajr immediately after. I'm staying up the whole night. It's so peaceful, it's so quiet, and it's just the best vibe ever. Another good time to study if you're not going to school in Ramadan is directly after you finish fajr prayer. So it's really up to you. You can either study from after tarawih till suhoor, or you can study after fajr till whenever you want. But make sure during that time you're getting 7 hours of sleep. Personally, what works for me is, I come after Tarawih, I can go gym, and when I come back from the gym, I can just study for as long as I want, then pray tahajjud, and by the time that ends, it's already suhoor time, so I help my mom with all of that stuff. So I've personally, that is the ideal time for me to study. You can easily get 4 to 5 hours of studying in, and it's just the best vibes ever, man. But again, the more important thing is that you're getting 7 hours of sleep every night. I know it becomes a bit hard in Ramadan, but even if you're getting 6 hours, that's fine, but try to aim for 7. Now there are some times where you absolutely should not be studying, and these times are up to you. Allocate time every single day where you try to read one juz. Ideally after Taraweeh, that's what I do. After Taraweeh finishes, after witr prayer finishes, I stay in the masjid, I read one juz, and then I go back home. That is the best, because you want to aim to finish the Quran at least once in Ramadan. Another time is an hour before Fajr, because you want to use this time to pray tahajjud, make all the du'as that you want, because you're closer to Allah at this time. While everyone else is sleeping, you're awake, you're doing ibadah, you're making du'as. So this is probably one of the best times to ask for whatever you want, make du'as, do whatever you want, but this time is essential to gain good deeds. Again, as I said, these times are really up to you, except the Fajr one. You don't have to stay back after Taraweeh. You can do it in Zuhr prayer, because after Zuhr prayer you can read the one juz, or you can do it after Asr. It's really up to you how you want to manage it, but make sure that you're reading one juz a day, and then the hour before Fajr you're doing as much ibadah as you can. Now part 2 of this video, I want to mention that our main goals for Ramadan shouldn't be to study better, study more, or become more efficient. Instead they should be to become more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ramadan is that one month where you can literally turn your life around. Everyone has bad habits, and Ramadan is the perfect time to fix those bad habits if you do have them. Our main goal should always be to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to become a better individual overall. Our main goal shouldn't be, oh, I want to get A on that paper. Yes, that is good, but your main goal should be to become close to Allah, and then as you do that, every other area in your life will become better as well. I'm not saying studying is not important, of course it is, but at the end of the day, our main goal in this dunya is to strive for Jannah. We shouldn't get caught up with worldly things, especially in Ramadan. Ramadan is the perfect time to turn your life around and become more religious. Once you get closer to Allah, everything else will follow. Whatever you want good grades, you will automatically find yourself becoming more disciplined and becoming productive, because once you become closer to Allah, you start becoming disciplined by praying 5 times a day, and all of that stuff follows, because you have to understand, once you become closer to Allah, it's not gonna fire back at you negatively. You're allocating your time well to something really, really good that is gonna give you a lot of benefits in the future. So yeah, make it your main goal to become closer to Allah, become more religious, pray 5 times a day, pray sunnah, nafil, all of that stuff, and just become a better person in Ramadan. So that being said, I really hope that you have a blessed Ramadan, and that any bad habits that you guys have, you are able to overcome them. May Allah grant all of your families health, wealth, and happiness. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and leave a like. You can subscribe to the channel over here, and if you want to watch this video on how to maximize your grades in just a few months before your board exams, click over here. I'll see you with another video very, very soon. Thank you for watching, and Assalamu alaikum.